Salutations everybody, it is Maddie here today with a CD Projekt Red news update. Today's story is quite a serious one. We've talked a lot about CD Projekt Red on the channel in a more positive light. I've made a couple of pieces talking about how I think some of the fanboyism for this company can be a bit dangerous and will lead to some bitter disappointment, but overall, this is one of the industry's leaders in excellent RPGs in the AAA genre. They have a lot of respect from consumers, and rightfully so, with The Witcher 3 really leading the charge with fantastic post-launch content, but also giving you your entire money's worth for the initial product. Furthermore, the game that a lot of people don't talk about, Thronebreaker, was another fantastic addition to that. It just didn't sell that well because I think it was a card game and it didn't receive as much marketing. Seriously, if you haven't played this game, give it a shot. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, CD Projekt Red is potentially facing some crunch over in Poland. We're going to be talking about this story from Kotaku, who was also known for exposing a lot of the dastardly things happening to Anthem during its development cycle. So let's just get right into this very serious topic. The link to our source will be in the description down below. We're known, let me be humble for a moment here, we are known for treating gamers with respect, said Marcin Iwinski, the company's co-founder, in an interview with Kotaku this week. This is what we've been working hard toward, and I would actually like for us to be known for treating developers with respect. It's kind of mind-blowing that this is something that like companies want a company image for. Wouldn't you just naturally want to have a good public image for treating your workers right? I don't know, some of these companies, man. One of the ways the company plans to do that, Iwinski said, is through a non-obligatory crunch policy that isn't brand new, but that the Warsaw-based CD Projekt Red plans to push harder. He wants to make it clear to Cyberpunk 2077's developers that even when the studio asks them to work on nights and weekends, it's not mandatory. Okay, so we saw this actually happen with another crunch story just at the end of last year with Rockstar and Red Dead Redemption 2, where what we heard was Rockstar saying, you don't have to work weekends, you don't have to work at night, but something shitty may happen if you don't. And that kind of bumps you down the ladder a bit, where then you feel compelled to work those nights to maintain your job. And so that's not mentioned in this story at all, and I'm not gonna make such a bold accusation, but all I'm saying is that we're starting to see a lot of these crunch stories blurred together with similar narratives, certain approaches to them. I'm just saying, keep a watchful eye out for it because it sounds really similar to what's going on at Rockstar. We've been working toward it for some time already, Iwinski said. We've been communicating clearly to the people that of course there are certain moments where we need to work harder. Like I think the E3 demo is a pretty good example, but we want to be more humane and treat people with respect. If they need to take time off, they can take their time off. Nobody will be frowned upon if this will be requested. Okay, that's good, and I like that transparency there. I mean, this is the video game industry, and as a creator myself, certainly even for me, times are harder to work than others. For me, the fall is incredibly busy, and once December comes, I'm shot. And the same thing happens around E3. There is that week of I am attached to this computer here, and then once it's done, I'm shot. And actually, this time around, I have a vacation planned with my girlfriend and her family for afterwards so that I can take time to cool off. So I get exactly where they're talking about, where sometimes things heat up, you gotta work harder. I think that's normal, but I also think that sometimes overworking your employees constantly to hit a deadline, that's when it gets really bad. Perhaps they also want to preempt a potential story, as I suggested in the beginning of this video. After the publication of our Anthem investigation last month, which documented a turbulent development marked by mismanagement, crunch, and anxiety, 4 former CD Projekt Red employees reached out to tell me that they had seen similar problems in Warsaw. I felt that there are hundreds of parallels that could be drawn between the story of the rocky development of Anthem and the story of the rocky and even more rocky to become development of Cyberpunk 2077, said one former CD Projekt Red employee in an email. At times, I felt I could just replace the studio name and the game title, and it would all look so similar, almost identical. Wow. Wow. Like, I'm not even trying to exaggerate, but wow, dude, because Anthem was such a shit show of a story when we learned everything from Kotaku about the crunch in that studio and how horribly managed the product was, and they really had like 18 months spent on actually developing the game. I mean, really, really bad stuff. And to see that they could draw parallels with Cyberpunk, it's crazy what a positive company image will do, because this isn't the first time we've seen crunch from CD Projekt Red. They got a reputation from it through The Witcher 3. Around 2017, a lot of stuff started to come out, a lot of employee reports, and when people started going against CD Projekt Red a little bit, there was a line of defense for them, which I get why. I mean, they make excellent games. There is a lot of love for that company, and they do right by the consumer. But we want the consumer to be done right without having lives sacrificed in our stead. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, man, the fact that they're drawing parallels, I know it's just one employee in an email saying it, but the fact that someone would go to that length, I mean, there were serious mental health issues there. That's stuff that, as someone who's struggled with mental health, you hate to see. You don't want that happening. So no matter how good Cyberpunk is or how great The Witcher 3 is, I really hope that CD Projekt Red genuinely is taking care of their developers, which they seem to be publicly pledging to, and we'll get into that aspect in a little bit. Like I said, I don't want to come off like I'm accusing them of really doing anything, but when reports start coming out and then they get ahead and go, here's our non-obligatory crunch policy, which shouldn't it not be obligatory in the first place? Then, for example, as the employees who reached out to me told, this year, the company has told staff to work through Polish holidays and that there will be mandated periods for vacation rather than take off whenever they'd like. CD Projekt Red's developers have to limit their vacation to specific times in 2019. One period will be in the summer, right after E3, while another will be in the winter. The managers confirmed as much when I asked. We are trying to organize the vacations better and to streamline the effort, said Adam Badowski. It's a general rule for the studio, but if there are special occasions, we will obviously take care of those kinds of people. And this is our take on this year. And we will see, maybe it's good, maybe it's wrong. We will do a survey after that and take care of people. When the production takes 5 years, for 4 years, it's super normal. And then it's the last year, we have some special rules just for this period. It kind of reminds me of when I was in school. You'd finish around June, for me at least here in the US. You'd go off on vacation for a little bit, you do whatever, you come back in August, and then back to school you go, and then you make it up until about Thanksgiving. There's Thanksgiving break, you're off for a week. And I'm kind of comparing that to what we're seeing here with CD Projekt Red. Now, I'm not gonna speak for developers. I personally don't think that sounds too bad if they get a week or two off after E3, a really busy time for game developers and a place that CD Projekt Red's absolutely gonna own this year. I think it might recharge the batteries a bit to come back and hit the ground running. It's amazing what a week off can do. And while they haven't specified how long the vacation is in this article, I'm gonna use myself as an example. I think back to at the end of last year, I actually had worked hard from, I'd say, August onto December to make sure I had videos scheduled for 2 weeks while I was gone at the end of December until just the beginning of January. And those 2 weeks recharged my battery so much that I've hit the ground running this year, and we're now in May and I really don't feel like I need a break. And while I think game developers work a million times harder than me, I'm just saying that vacation at a right time can really help someone out in recharging their batteries and unplugging. I just hope that the studio culture is positive. It is in a good state where when they do return, it's not like, back to hell we go. It's like, all right, I'm good to work now. One of those things where they just need to breathe a little bit. I mean, this is a creative environment, right? So a lot of us get caught up in our passions and we work overtime voluntarily, but when it's forced upon you, that's when it gets a little icky in my honest opinions. I also need to add in one thing that I believe both CD Projekt Red and their fans alike will use to justify some of the crunch for Cyberpunk 2077, and it's the timelines set in place at this studio. If you don't recall, I made a video a couple of months back talking about how CD Projekt Red had reiterated their commitment to releasing another AAA game by 2021, and that AAA game is more than likely The Witcher 4, because in that same breath, CD Projekt Red also said, we only work on 2 series now, Cyberpunk and The Witcher, so your guess is as good as ours, meaning it's probably The Witcher 4. But anyway, with that commitment to get The Witcher 4 out, they likely have a timeline saying, get Cyberpunk out this year, 2019, therefore we can go all hands on deck for The Witcher 4 and make sure that gets out by 2021. They are trying to abide by their own set timeline, and I guess in order to do that, they have to make sure Cyberpunk gets out this year no matter what, which means some devs' sanity will be sacrificed in that process. Just know that's probably how they're going to try to justify it. I just wanted to cover this story because I've always kept it fair with all companies, CD Projekt Red included. I've made my pieces about how I think fanboyism for them can be dangerous, but I've also supported them in a lot of areas, shown how well The Witcher 3 has sold and so on. So I had to cover this. I apologize for being a few days late to this news, but it's something I wanted to develop my thoughts on a little bit and then get on top of. So I'd love to hear your thoughts, ladies and gentlemen, in the comments down below. Please do fire away. What do you think of the studio culture for CD Projekt Red, their non-obligatory crunch policy and such? Let me know down below. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, like me on Facebook. Those links are in the description down below, along with my Patreon. Do consider supporting that as it fuels all the content I create here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.